Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 119. We have a good one for you today. Today's fish is one of the fish that actually I learned about in school, but before I decided to take the fisheries biologist career. And this is actually one of the fish that made me really confirm that route. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's incredibly beautiful. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is, bam, the Warpaint shiner. Now, the Warpaint shiner, or scientific name Luxellus coccygenius, again, that's Luxellus coccygenius. It is part of the family Cyprinidae. We've talked about cyprinids multiple times. That's the family of carps and minnows. You should expect that. It's one of the largest families of fish in the world. Now, they're native to the southeastern U.S. Originally, they were only found in like the upper Tennessee River, but they've been introduced to a couple of other surrounding river drainages, not much farther out than that, but they're really specific to that really southeastern range, but kind of far away from the coast. I like to think of them as everything on the extreme southwest side of the Appalachian. That's how I kind of think of them when I'm thinking of their range. Now, the populations have been very negatively impacted. Well, no, I shouldn't say very, just negatively impacted. Damming activities, siltation from increased agricultural practices, and pollution in some locations have led to the population declining a bit. They're actually currently threatened in Alabama, so they do have some population things going on, but they're not really protected. And I believe the reason before that is because in the rivers that these are found, there's other fish that their populations are sure enough declining, and so they're kind of focusing on one helps. It's benefiting one benefits all sort of thing. And the habitats that you'll find these, you're going to find these in creeks and streams, but you really find these a lot that have high gradient slopes, meaning those steep rivers are coming down off the hillsides, the snow melt, the springs, and everything. That's really where these things prefer to be. Really cool, almost cold waters, crystal clear waters. Crystal clear. Now, if you can't tell by this picture, it is a small fish. It's not a large fish. They average about 9 centimeters, 3.5 inches, max length 14 centimeters, 5.5 inches. That's your max. And they're this sleek silverfish with this dark line on the gill right here. Now, most of the times you're going to see it like this or like this. But other times you're going to see them like this. In full breeding, these things are just absolutely beautiful. One of my favorite shiners out there. The outer third of the dorsal fin has this black stripe. Then you got this white parallel stripe, then a red parallel stripe. This black border on the backside with the white inside of the the caudal fin. Sorry about that. This patchy herringbone pattern. Concentrated toward the top. Then of course you got the very white face, this red bloodline going down the side, black eyes, and then the red lips. It's just really not that hard to see why this is called a Warpaint shiner. Native Americans would wear similar paints, going to war. I mean, it's an incredible likeness. It's just really bizarre. I just don't know how to say it. It's just really bizarre. I love it. It's just beautiful. Even the pectoral fins get relatively lighter in color, almost like snow dusting in there. Just love this fish. The maximum, they don't live a long time though. In these shallow headwater streams, you're usually talking about fish that don't really survive a long time. The maximum reported age of these is about 4 years. That seems to be like the max. In terms of what they eat, they're gonna feed on aquatic insect larvae. They really love mayfly nymphs, and then they're gonna eat terrestrial insects they catch on the water surface, which is why this fish actually has quite a good fisheries following, meaning people love to go fish for this fish. They'll go fly fishing, or they'll actually do something called microfishing. Microfishing is an incredible amount of fun. I wish I could get into it more. It's basically going out with like super tiny rods and reels, like incredibly tiny, with really tiny lures and stuff, and you're going and actually trying to catch these minnows and stuff. It's really bizarre, but it looks like a ton of fun. Now, in terms of reproduction, spawning for the Warpaint Shiner usually occurs in clear running water over the edges of circular rock nests that were actually constructed by a different fish altogether, the river chub. The river chub comes in, makes its nest, and the Warpaint Shiner just kind of is like, hey, I'm gonna borrow this crib, basically, and does their breeding practice. That usually takes about May and June. I attribute it to like the melting snow from the mountainsides. There. But now for the interesting fact that we're going to get in the video on, and you're kind of getting two animals in one in this video. On top of everything else, the Warpaint Shiner is actually known to be a host, and known to be, like, I believe, the critical host for the Tennessee heel splitter. Now, what's the Tennessee heel splitter? I imagine you're just going, what the heck is that thing? Well, the Tennessee heel splitter is actually a freshwater mussel. A lot of people say, oh, freshwater clams, yada yada. No, this is a freshwater mussel. And that's actually very important. The Tennessee heel splitter is actually a federally endangered freshwater mussel. Heel splitter populations and most freshwater mussel populations, been extremely negatively impacted by human activities, dam constructions, pollution, siltation. These things are very, very subjected, or very, very, sensitive to pollution changes and siltation requirements. They are actually filter feeders. They're filtering the water to get their nutrients. So the heel splitter depends on the Warpaint Shiner to actually reproduce. And if you don't know, freshwater mussels, I should preface this saying, why do we care? Well, in North America, there's not very many places that freshwater mussels are found in the world. I believe that the United States actually has the most freshwater mussel species in the world, if not, I'm trying to think, I don't know if there are many freshwater species elsewhere in the world. But the crazy thing about it is that freshwater mussels are the most endangered category of animals probably in the world. You think about all the animals that are going extinct, getting federal protections, getting endangered and things like that. The freshwater mussel group, the Unionidae, is possibly by far and large the most imperiled group. It's something like 75% of the species of freshwater mussels are federally threatened or federally endangered, or have very low populations to justify that. It's absolutely bizarre. And one of the aspects on why this animal is so difficult to actually survive is their reproductive strategy. So the freshwater mussel has a reproductive strategy where they release their larval stage in some way, shape, or form into the water that attach to fish in some way, shape, or form. Some of them attach to fins. More commonly, they actually attach to the gills of the fish itself. Now, I don't know about the heel splitter itself, but some of them actually put out a little pocket of flesh that they wave. Actually, here, I'll show you a picture real quick. They have what's called a mantle lure. Not shop. Images. See here, you can see this little pocket of flesh. This one's pretty good. Oh, here's a really good one. Let's zoom in on this. So if you look at this, that right there, that's part of this freshwater mussel. What happens is they create these pockets of flesh, and a fish comes by and sees that little fish that they're actually waving. It's not just sitting there, they're actually like causing it to move. A predator comes by and is like, oh my goodness, that's a free meal. I've got a dying fish. It bites, and all of those larva mussels, which are actually called Glaucidia, and I can show you a picture of that as well. Sorry, this is a little bit new. I believe it's called Glaucidia. God, yes, Glaucidia. Woo. Thank goodness. I only work with these. Let's. Here you go. So you see right here. Here's like a microscope, electron microscope view of a freshwater mussel larva. Extremely tiny, tiny. They have those little hooks on the side with this kind of tube at the bottom. They attach to the gills, and they actually they're actually parasites. They usually don't kill their fish, but they're actually parasites. They stay on the gills, and then they grow to a certain size, and then they drop from the fish and go down to the bottom and settle out. That's actually how they survive, how they reproduce, and how they spread across their riverine systems. Really, really interesting evolutionary adaptation, and just very, very incredible. But a lot of freshwater mussels are evolved to only have they have a very specific set of fish hosts that they can actually use. Don't know why, but for some reason there's some mussel species that require one fish to actually be able to reproduce and spread their Glaucidia. It's just the absolute most bizarre thing, and definitely worthy of the interesting fact for this video. Not just about the Warpaint shiner, which is important for this species, the Tennessee hill splitter, but also just because it's absolutely beautiful. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. And